Hey, it's Greg here. So I got another video here. I got a Whirlpool Duet washer that she says is not draining very well. So we're gonna get into the pump and see if there's anything clogging it up. But what we'll do first is I want to get rid of the water, but there's not much room to drain this thing. So I'm actually going to put a shop vac on the drain line and just suck it out from there. Then I won't have to deal with very much water at all. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll tear this thing apart. So how I do this is I just connect the drain hose from the wall here. It's usually in there quite a ways. And it's usually pretty gross. But it's a lot easier to do it this way. So let's just stick that in the hose and turn on the vacuum, and that will get rid of all the water that's sitting down in that pump that I don't want to have to deal with. Okay, so this is the machine here. It has a removable panel down on the bottom there, so we'll have to get that off. But all the water should be out of there now. So I'll take you guys a little lower here to see what holds this panel on. Okay, so there's 3 screws below this panel down here that you gotta take off. I just use a T20 Torx, and then you just lift it forward and it'll drop down and the panel comes off. So the main part that we want to be after today is the most common part, and that's the drain pump right here. So there's a couple hoses that go from the tub to the drain that can plug up. It's not very common, but when we spin this guy off, we'll check those two just to make sure that nothing else is gonna plug this guy up. So hopefully most of the water's gone out of there, and can spin this filter off and not have to worry about too much about it. But I will grab a towel just to make sure, because you never know what you're gonna get out of these. So how I like to do it is actually a little differently. I don't like to just spin this filter off because it's recessed inside this cavity. So all the water tends to drain inside of here if there is any in there. So what I do is take this little screw, it's also a T20, out of the front of the pump here. And the whole pump will slide forward and lift up. So that way you can pull it out a little bit further, and you don't have to worry about getting all the water inside of there if there is any. So I'm gonna crack this guy, just see what we're dealing with. Perfect, we got no water. So this guy's a little bit plugged up. It's not that bad though. There's not a lot of coins and hairpins and all that kind of fun stuff that you can find in here. But we'll definitely want to give this a wash out because it looks like it's plugging off some of the holes that are in there. So I will go do that, and then we'll check out the inside of that pump. Actually looks pretty good. Doesn't look like there's anything in there. It's got a bunch of crap in there, but once we run a clean cycle on this guy, it'll be fine. Off to the right there, that hole right there, that is access to the actual impeller of the drain pump. So if you ever get get the side of here, you can always stick your finger in there and just give it a spin, make sure it actually moves, because a lot of times there can be something in there that that blocks that impeller. It won't let it actually drain. So we'll throw this back together. So just like every other filter, this guy has to go in a certain way. See, it's got this little cutout here that has to go to the top. There's a little recess that it fits into. So get it in there and turn it. So what you guys didn't see was I cleaned up all the threads that were in the front here, so we didn't get anything leaking past the threads, because it's catching anything in those threads. It can cause that seal to not seal properly. So you can see this is that great, but there's little rubber feet here. Those have to fit into. If you're doing it, you'll see it. It's definitely easier to tell somebody than show them, because it's a pretty tight spot in here. So just put those feet back in and push back. It's only going to go back a certain distance, and then you'll be able to throw that screw back in there, which holds the whole pump in place. You can usually see the hole line up. There we go. Perfect. So that's back in, and check the hoses. And they were good. So yeah, there wasn't much in there, but the amount that was in there is enough that it would probably slow down the drain quite a bit. But yeah, now run a clean cycle on these machines. This one doesn't have an actual clean option on the control, so we're just going to run the hottest cycle we can get, and run maybe a cup of vinegar into the actual detergent part of it, and just let the cycle run through. That'll clean out everything inside the drum and the drain lines and all the way back to the wall. So that is exactly what we want. So I'm just going to do a test here, make sure it's draining well anyway. So I just put it on a normal cycle. I don't need to worry too much about the Cleanout yet. I just want to make sure it's actually draining like it should be when you do run it through a clean cycle. On this guy, I would probably use a heavy duty. I would put it on a hot wash with, I guess, a cold rinse. So you got no option there. Spin speed doesn't necessarily matter. Extra rinse you don't really need either, so that's what I would choose on this particular washing machine. But we're just gonna let it fill up here, and we'll see how she drains in a minute here. What's nice about these machines is they actually have a drain and spin option. Some machines don't, and you got to put it on like a rinse and spin, which is fine, but it just takes a little longer for the test to happen, because usually you don't have a heck of a lot of time as a technician to sit there for a long time, so you learn little tricks to get it drained out quick. So I think that's fully filled now, so I'm just going to pause it. Now some machines at this point you can switch Once that door unlocks, you can switch it over to a different cycle and it will switch. Some you can't, you actually have to cancel the whole thing and then restart it, put it on your drain and spin, and then start it up. So it'll always fill a little bit right off the start. It's just what a washer does. I guess to kind of make sure that there's actually going to be water in there. So that drain's kicked in. You can hear the water coming out. That sounds good. That whole tub drained in, I don't know, how long was that, 10 seconds? So that is exactly what you want. The drain pump sounds like it's getting a little older and it's getting a little creaky, but it's still doing its job quite well. So, job well done. That's another one in the books. Thanks for watching, guys. Hit that subscribe button if you want to watch more of these type of videos. I'm going to try to cover just about every machine and every kind of problem you can find. It's a lot, but I will make a bunch of videos. Thanks for watching. Bye.